can be most effective when we are engaged in the political process, and there's no time like the present. One of our main goals is effective advocacy through active participation from you. Those who stand for nothing will fall for anything. Our efforts to keep you engaged and informed as to the importance of current events happening locally and abroad started 2 years ago. Our number one goal is to make a difference. We need you. Join us at the Smoking Glass Hour with Bern Glass. Catch us at www.thesmokingglasshour.com.
It's time to take back control of our society. Today's world requires an open and honest discussion about the current events. On the Smoking Glass Hour with Bern Glass, our goal is to engage people from different walks of life into a healthy discussion, creating a positive outcome. When it comes to global events, tune in to the Smoking Glass Hour with Bern Glass on Monday nights at 7:30. We don't just listen to the news, we bring you the news.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Smoking Glass Hour with Bern Glass. We are honored to have you as a guest tonight and want to thank each of you for your faithful support. Without further delay, allow me to introduce to you Mr. Bern Glass. Mr. Glass, take it away.
Without further delay, the Smoking Glass Hour with Bern Glass is now live. We're looking at about 8:03 p.m. Central Standard Time, and I know that there are many who are out there watching the live presidential debate between United States Senator Bernie Sanders and former Senator and Secretary of State and former First Lady Hillary Clinton. But I want to also let you know that one person thinks that this broadcast is as important and they are recording it. That is our good friend and newfound friend, Miss Deb from Missouri. So, Deb, I want to thank you for taking out the time to participate in tonight's broadcast. Tonight, we're going to be talking about, are you feeling the burn yet? Why or why not? You see, what I did, I asked my good friend, Mr. Dave Lamont from Aurora, California, Screams from the Center live broadcast, to provide us tonight with some valuable information regarding why or why not you aren't feeling the burn. And then I reached over to Las Vegas, Nevada, and asked another good friend of ours, Miss Nikki Bedrick, to do the same thing by providing us some information with regard to why or why not. And then I also asked our good friend Deb, who is also one of the actual delegates for Senator Bernie Sanders, to do the same thing. And I'm hoping that at some point in time tonight during the broadcast that I will be able to talk directly with Mr. Aaron Hopkins. Now, if you are out there listening, you can check us out at www.thesmokingglasshour.com, or you can call in and talk to us live right now in the host queue at 773-897-6398. I'm going to tell you guys, I am actually excited. Today started out not the way that I planned, but oftentimes we have no control over what happens. You see, because something always happens to turn the bad into a good. So as a result of that bad turning into that good, I am electrified. We just finished up a previous broadcast live streaming where you could actually see me, the Smoking Glass Hour, talking to you live, just like you're watching the presidential debate tonight. So without further delay, Dave Lamont, Nikki Bedrick, and Deb, how are you guys doing tonight?
Fine,
doing good.
How are you? Hi, Dave. Hi, Deb.
I'll tell you. I just got a message, Dave Lamont, that says this. 7 million campaign contributions for Bernie Sanders. Can you imagine if each person running put all the campaign monies towards paying down the debt, or better yet, buy many families a home, do you know how many homes that would buy? So Dave Lamont from Screen from the Center, are you feeling the burn yet? And if so, Dave, tell us specifically why. I'm going to go down the line. I'm going to start with you, Dave. You can pause in and out. You can send it over to Nick, and then we'll send it over to Deb, and we won't call us. If you're out there, you can join and engage in the conversation whenever you get ready. Mr. Dave Lamont from Screen from the Center, Aurora, California, Miss Nikki Bedrick from Las Vegas, Nevada, and Miss Deb from the state of Missouri. Dave Lamont.
Yes, well, the reason I like Bernie is because he's a centrist. And yeah, you heard the word right. I said centrist. The way that I define centrist is someone who espouses policies and programs that a majority of the citizenry support. So where I get that from is Senator Sanders supports many of these things that I'm about to talk about. And these are policies or ideas that are supported by more than 70% of the people. And that includes things like letting the government negotiate drug prices and Medicare. He's an advocate for single payer, giving students the same interest rates as banks. He wants to go a little bit further than that and offer debt-free college. He is in favor of universal pre-K, and so is a majority of Americans. And that's just to name a few to start with. I'm going to go back to this list, and it's quite an extensive list, as we move through the program. So just in terms of where he stands policy-wise, he actually has a platform that appeals to a majority of Americans. Another kind of useful bit of information that people can look up is the Eisenhower platform for his re-election, a 1956 Republican platform. And you will see that the Republicans at that point stood for strengthening unions, getting more people on Social Security, and getting out of the war. In fact, Eisenhower ran as a peace president, not as a war president. Mm-hmm. So given all of those factors together, when you look at Senator Sanders, he's not the far-right radical person that the media likes to make him out to be. He is actually a centrist figure in our political body. It's just that the bar has been moved to the right so far that a centrist is now a centrist based on the political machinations of the media is someone like Reagan. And that's just not how it works. So that's my opening positive for Bernie Sanders.
So Dave, are you in fact saying or confirming some of the same things that we've talked about here on this broadcast, that once again, mainstream media is distorting the message and dividing the people by putting Sanders in a category that he's not necessarily in? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. I don't put him in the far left. A progressive is not necessarily someone who's far left. Mm-hmm. Prescribe to a progressive policy, which means change. They want to do new things in different ways. Conservatism is also not necessarily to the right, because I consider myself a fiscal conservative. I think that we should do things for the cheapest amount to get the most effectiveness. Mm-hmm. So, like an example of what I consider to be a conservative position is free birth control, allowing men and women to have access to birth control. I consider that a conservative position strictly because in terms of money, it is the cheapest, most efficient method to control unwed birth and unwanted pregnancy. Mm-hmm. So I don't look at the spectrum as progressives on one side and conservatives on the other. I look at them as kind of ideologies that can fall anywhere in between. Mm-hmm. What I consider centrist, right or left, is how people tend to think of them in total. So if something is supported by more than 50% of the population, I consider that exactly a centrist position.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And Bernie Sanders follows a lot of those positions that are popular.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Nikki, let me ask you this. Based on what Mr. Dave Lamont has indicated from Screams from the Center, how do you view Bernie coming from another country, being able to live through some of the things that have happened in the past, leading on up to where we're at now, versus all the other candidates that's running? Are you feeling the burn yet?
Oh, I'm feeling the burn. I am feeling the burn. You know, I always love to listen to Dave, and I love the logic, Dave, that you propose. I mean, it's so incredible. And as you were speaking, I was thinking about how America has a tremendous phobia of the word communist. You know, communist, socialist. They lived through a Cold War with Russia, all of this type of thing. So there's almost this phobic kind of connotation to the word socialist, like you're going to get Karl Marx, or you're going to get Lenin, or you're going to get Mussolini, or something like that. And really, a socialist is concerned about social issues, you know? And even in the Russian Revolution, Marx, Engels, Lenin, they were all socialists. I mean, there was a massive serf population there with no rights whatsoever. And that's how their revolution came about. Coming from Europe, you'd almost describe British government or Finnish government or Danish government as a socialist government. We have a socialist parties. We have free national health service. We have free education. Nobody's living under tyranny, and there are no dictators, you know? So I think what the media has done with Bernie is they've hooked into this word socialist, and it frightens the hell out of most America, who don't really even know what it is. They think communist when they hear socialist, and I think it's a scare tactic of the media with Bernie. But I absolutely agree with Dave. If a candidate, if 70% of the people agree with many of his policies, he's smack in the center. Mm-hmm. I just love Bernie Sanders. I love that. I feel that with Bernie, you can actually kind of trust what he says, and he means what he means, and he says what he means. I think he's one of those few politicians that we haven't seen for a while that exude a veracity. You believe in the man, and then you take a look at the man's life, and there's 50 years not only of public service, but his private life. I think he has a net worth of $300,000. You know, Miss Clinton earned close to $3 million in 2 years, speaking for the investment Wall Street banking companies. The man has a net worth of $300 million, 50 years in public service. His message has never varied. His concern for social justice, for the poor, for the working, for the marginalized, for the average Joe Blow on the street has never changed. Bernie Sanders makes me kind of, dream that maybe there could be a shift. He's not a status quo candidate. He's not proposing, moderate shifts here and moderate shifts there. I saw an interview with Chris Matthews from Hardball today, and Chris Matthews was with Bernie Sanders, and Chris Matthews was trying to goad him. The man just doesn't get flustered, Mm-hmm. And he said simply, he doesn't want to legislate. He wants to change the face of American politics. I mean, that is, and that's what we need. We need the face of American politics changed. So for me, I mean, I just feel that Bernie has he has the common sense. Two, he has the moral compass, the integrity to give us that shift at the top. That there's a revolution out there. Did you see the pictures in New York? He was endorsed by the Transit Union workers in New York, which is it's a powerful union. he was just endorsed by a progressive party called the Workers' Families Party in New York. It's on Brooklyn, New York. These are working folks. These are working people, and he appeals.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling the burn, Baron. I am feeling the burn.
Okay. Deb, we know that you are actually a delegate for Senator Bernie Sanders as recent as a week or two ago. What is it that you'd like to point out to those who are out there listening who may not know enough about Bernie, but they really don't want to vote for one side, or they don't want to vote for former Secretary of State, former First Lady, and former United States Senator Hillary Clinton? What is it that you would like to say regarding, are you feeling the burn yet? And if so, how would you propose getting other people to feel the burn? And what people fail to understand is feeling the burn is understanding the man's message. And that's as simple as it can be. Go ahead, Deb.
Well, first of all, hello, everyone.
Hi, Deb.
I was trying to tell you all hello a while ago, and I couldn't find my mute button.
Okay.
I got lost there. But, well, you all definitely know I feel the burn. I went and fought my way through a delegate session to try to win that, and came away with it, and I'm excited to go to the convention, or state convention, is where I'll be going. Personally, I have waited my entire life for a candidate like this. I have heard of FDR. I had heard of, some of our past presidents. Kennedy was a real popular president from when I was little. But I've never seen one. I've never seen an FDR in my life. I've heard it. It was like a mythical animal, like a unicorn. And all of a sudden, here comes this Bernie Sanders along, and I'm like, who is this guy? Because I was on board with Hillary. It's like, well, I guess this is what I got to go with this year,
Mm-hmm.
And I saw him on the first debate, and immediately started looking up his issues, his policies. And Dave Lamont, you are right about this. I never really thought of it in those terms, but he really is a centrist. This is something that FDR was headed for back in his day. When they brought about Social Security and many of the social programs that we have now, we just got cut off because they put in term limits on FDR at the time. He was so popular. And it got lost. That idea got lost.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a shame. And now we've got Bernie back here to stand up for these things. And there's so much more, as Dave was saying. He's criminal justice reform and the environment, economic equality. He's looking at, my big one right now is campaign reform. I think it's a stunning shame. I know right now at least in Arizona, they're fighting it.
Mm-hmm.
I know Nebraska this week has actually come to a decision to have the voting boundaries set by an independent panel that has no they don't have no investment in it whatsoever. This is what it's a totally independent panel. Kudos for them.
Right.
And I congratulate Bernie Sanders on that because I think he pushed the envelope on that. And Nebraska stood up and said, he's right. We're going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I think every other state is too.
Right.
So I'm behind his policy. I am definitely behind his policy.
Right. I'll tell you, Dave, I'm going to come back to you. Two things. I'm sitting here looking at a piece of information that says Hillary Clinton made more in 12 speeches to big banks than most of us earn in a lifetime. And here it is. In a lifetime, now think of this. From 2013 to 2015, she made $2,935,000. Okay. Then yesterday, we found out that she is connected to, in some way, Verizon, and Verizon is basically having an adverse effect with their employees. Then we see this man that we're talking about tonight, United States Senator Bernie Sanders, leaving his campaign function. He goes and sit and walk with these people. Dave Lamont, tell me, have you seen anything like this within the last 20 some odd years regarding a candidate that gets this involved or directly involved with the things that are going on with the people on Main Street rather than Wall Street?
No, I've never seen anything like that in my lifetime, and that's given the fact that we've had Ted Kennedy running in the primaries and Dennis Kucinich running in the primaries. Both are considered, pretty strong progressives. So for a candidate for president, even in a primary, this is unusual. And this is something that Obama had an opportunity to do back in 2008. And he did not do that.
Correct.
So that to me was a telling sign that, as much as I respect President Obama, I quickly came to the realization that he was not the progressive centrist character that I thought he would be.
Correct.
Not to say that he didn't have great accomplishments, because he did.
Right.
So that's what impressed me with Senator Sanders, is the fact that he took a strong stand on something that Democrats are supposed to be the champions of. FDR was the guy who inspired the labor movement had been going on, but FDR is the one who kind of brought it under the tent of the Democrats fully and allowed it to be embraced and flourish within the Democrat Party. But until then, nobody has picked up that mantle running for the hot seat in the White House. Everybody has backed off every chance they have. And Senator Sanders showing the guts and the courage to stand with middle-class, hard-working people who a company that's made billions of dollars a year in profit, I'm not talking revenue, billions of dollars in profit, saying that they have to cut benefits and cut wages to hard-working Americans.
Correct.
Senator Sanders is the only one who stood up for it. I commend him. I wish more people did that who are running for office. It's a beautiful sight to see. I saw the photos of that. I almost teared up on that.
Correct.
If anybody in the middle class thinks that Senator Sanders is not fighting for them, that's a picture you need to send them.
And Nikki, let me bring this, this to you. We know that the media, mainstream media, specifically those 6 corporations that controls 90% of what we see, what we hear, when we see it, and when we hear it. We know for a fact, and Deb just wrote, the media is talking like his picketing with Verizon was a campaign move. Fact is that he has been doing this for years. Coming from another country, seeing how the media tries to control and actually is 100% deceptive in some instances, how can the media even talk about liberty, freedom, justice, and all of these things when they are totally opposite of what they're talking about? And my point is this. How is it that Senator Sanders can get a fair shake at mainstream media where the majority of the people are going? That's why we're trying to transition them from where they are at to come and listen to shows like what it is that we're doing. How hypocritical is that when you sit back and you know that they are just flat out lying about what this man stands for, what he's done, his track record, and all of the above? They try to paint him as something totally that he's not. How does that make you feel?
It's Baron. I think it's symptomatic of what's happening in the country. Why would I made a comment to someone. They said, "Why is this not?" It's like Koch. One of the Koch brothers suing the other one for unpaid taxes. The media has something to lose the corporations that own the media have everything screwed that Bernie Sanders is elected. He's talking about breaking up the big banks and using Dodd-Frank to do it. You know, they're frightened of him. They do not want him elected. They all might lose their jobs. You know, the corporations may be broken up. So why would they paint him to either give him no press, or they have two mantras, okay, maybe three mantras. One is that he's a socialist. Two, how can he possibly do the things that he says he's going to do, you know, like a dreamer? So, I mean, this is the constant impression. I mean, Bernie Sanders, when I saw Bernie Sanders in the picket line, it was like watching Bernie Sanders in the 60s in the civil rights lines being arrested. Okay, it was like watching him travel to Nicaragua when we had our fingers all over there, and the populace, the people, we were overthrowing governments, we're doing all kinds of things, and the people are suffering. He went there to get his own information and then spoke out about it. I mean, that's one thing with Bernie Sanders' consistency. The Verizon, they want to cut benefits, they want to take jobs out of the country, stands all against that, and he's standing with it. And this is what is so warming with Bernie Sanders, and what is so credible. The man acts like he speaks and speaks like he acts. And he does have concern. I mean, I, like Dave, I almost teared up when I saw it too, and I went back to the picture of Bernie Sanders in the 60s being arrested. You know, our media is not going to... You know what? I wanted to say one thing. Baron, your statistic on what Hillary earned in the last couple of years, we're probably looking at the same article. Further down in that article is that between... I think since the Clintons left office, they have earned a staggering $153 million in speaking engagements. $153 million since Bill came out of office. That article also talks about why would Goldman Sachs, why would the big investment banks keep calling in Hillary to speak? I mean, are they infatuated with the power of her oratory? Or they said that everyone knew that Hillary was going to run again. This is for future investments for those, for Wall Street. Okay? They are investing in Hillary, that she get in, that they get past what they need to get past to maintain their power. There is no question about that.
So is she... acting as a Benedict Arnold, in your opinion?
Oh, I believe she is. I believe. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I believe that Hillary Clinton has absolutely no integrity, no moral compass. I think she does the expedient thing. I think she lies. I do not think she can be trusted as a leader of this country. You know, we spent $1 trillion. And then she does this. Oops, I'm sorry. We spent $1 trillion on 2 Iraq wars. $1 trillion would let every kid who needed to go to college in this country go to college free for 13 years. You know? No, I believe that she is dangerous domestically. I believe we'll slip further into more. I believe she's dangerous internationally. I mean, because I'm European. I have I read a lot of the European press. There is a fear of America's warmongering and interventions in places that they're not supposed to be. Europe is suffering the backlash of the immigrants out of Syria because of what we did in Iraq. Sorry, the Iraqi refugees. So the people that have been displaced, this massive refugee population from our intervention in Iraq, is now flooding into Europe. They are concerned.
Okay. Oh. Yeah. And Nikki, again, you know, that is, I mean, you just have to ask yourself. I'm looking at another comment which regarding the live debate now. The CEO of Verizon. Now get this. The CEO of Verizon makes $18 million a year as his salary. Okay. but yet is ready to stop workers' medical benefits. Now, it's saying that Bernie is getting hammered on questions on what he will actually do. Hillary, they are not letting either off with the questions. They are making them answer the question, which is good. Now, they talked about the tax returns and things like that. The tax returns regarding Hillary. Once again, she's saying that Bernie says, well, I'll release mine. Hillary says, well, I'll release mine when everybody else does, knowing that Donald Trump has already said he can't release his because he's under audit, right? So, Deb, Debbie, how much, to me, you guys, it appears that we have been sold a bill of goods for so long to where it's like the slave with the chain around his neck. He's had it around his neck for so long. Psychologically, when the chain is released, he still thinks it's there. I think that this country is basically in that same path. Like Dave said earlier, Bernie is making proposals that should have been made years ago, half a century ago. But here it is, not a year, but 100 years later, we're still fighting the same battle. Dad, what does that say to you when we have all of these big CEOs that are making money and Hillary Clinton are basically in bed or in too deep with them? What does that say about our election politics?
Oh, Baron, you just touched on my center right there. I got a twitch when you started talking about that. I work for one of these big companies, one of these Verizon-type companies, and I see this happening every day in my company. I recently found out that they have so far taken away, within the company that I work in, they have taken away pensions. They have cut 401k contributions. They have increased insurance where we can't afford to use it. They have taken away our stock options. They have, what else have they done? They've got people working, they've cut our crews back so far that people are working 2 or 3 jobs, like working 2 or 3 jobs. Recently found out that our CEO has been charged, and some of his top cronies have been charged with insider trading. They have gotten themselves into big trouble, and who's paying for it? Our workers are.
Did you say insider trading, Dad?
Yes, sir, I did. I just found the lawsuit online a couple of weeks ago, and I was fit to be tied. And I knew that something had happened, but couldn't figure out, it was, so what's going on here? What's going on here? And that's what it turned out to be. And I've seen their wages go higher and higher. I've seen their bonuses go higher and higher. And I've seen these workers suffer. We've had jobs shipped overseas. And our unions bargained to bring them back at half the price just so that people could have a job, and it is not right.
And you have to ask you have to ask yourself, Dale. Let me say this, and I'm gonna let you come back again. You have to ask yourself now, if it's already hard enough for all of these big timers to get in, how does a person who is at the very bottom, their voice is so suppressed, so compressed, to where they are never heard unless we give them the opportunity to be heard? How does that make you feel, knowing that it's hard enough for you, but yet still there are people that's beneath you, so to speak, that they don't even have the access that you have? Talk to me a little bit about that when it comes to Bernie.
And you're right. There is no access, and I'll tell you why. It's because these companies threaten their employees. If you go outside of this company to the media, if you go outside, if you even go into your neighborhood and say anything about this, they make you sign something that is where it's a violation of your contract with that company, and you can be immediately fired. That's how they work it. I have been wanting to tell somebody this so long, so badly, and I've just kind of given up, and if I get fired, I don't care. Because I'm fed up. I'm really fed up. And the people that we're voting into office are buddying up with these guys, and they're letting it happen. I'm going to take it a step farther here, too, because the CEO is friends with one of your governors in Louisiana.
Yeah.
And there's some deals being made there.
I'll tell you, Deb, Nikki, Dave, it appears that when you're able to talk freely and openly with no restrictions or no restraints, you'll find that there's somebody who has a little bit more information than you, and rather than getting pissed off, you remain even more pissed off because you find out that it appears that almost everybody that you come in contact has got a mask over their face because they in some way are connected to what we're calling corruption. Dave Lamont, tell us how people that's out there can get actively or become more actively involved in the political process, and in this case, hopefully go after or strongly consider Senator Bernie Sanders.
Well, to answer the first part of that question, one of the best ways to get involved is a position within the party called a precinct chairperson. Precinct is one of the smallest divisions that you have in a voting block. And what a precinct chairperson does is they basically whip up the base. They contact Democrats in their precincts and make sure that they're aware of policies, make sure that they're aware of candidates, positions, important bills, things like that, so the base of the party can drum up support. Another thing that they do is they help craft policies party-wide. So there are meetings that you go to, and they'll bring up policy things, platforms that local, state, and federal parties should follow. And this is kind of the base of where this stuff happens. That gets sent to the national convention, where they vote up or down on each type of policy or rule. And that is probably the best way that you can get started, aside from trying to run for political office directly. Mm-hmm. So that's your first part. What was the second part that you said about Sanders?
About what now? I didn't hear you, Dave.
Do you remember what that second part of the question was?
Oh man, I'm throwing so much out there, Dave. I'll tell you what. Let me switch gears and come back to me. I'm gonna throw this one to Nikki and Deb because I know this looks like equal pay for equal work. Here we are. Another live comment from the debate that's going on tonight. Bernie wants to jump our minimum wage nationally at $7.25 per hour, directly up to $15 an hour. Hillary is wanting to get $15, but thinks it should start at $12 an hour, and each state work to get up to $15. Talk to me a little bit about that, Nikki, with regards to why can't we start at $15 an hour when we know that $10 an hour. I mean, if let me just lead up, Nikki, come on in.
At $10 an hour, a grown man brings home or earns $400 a week. When you take out taxes, he's probably bringing home $325 thereabouts. Okay, multiplied by 4 is $1,300 a month. How is anyone supposed to live on that? Just living expense. Forget owning a house. Forget any of those things. Renting something. He brings in $1,300 a week. Be it now, if it's a two-party household, wife's out. Okay, so maybe they can bring in $2,500 a month, working 40 hours a week. If they got kids, who's looking after the kids? Who's doing the kids? It's impossible. You know, I went in for, I think I mentioned this before, I went in for a bagel. Stopped one morning to get a bagel, and there's two grown men behind the counter in the bagel store. And I know, because I know someone that I sent somebody to apply for a job there, they were paying them $8.25 an hour. Two grown men. And I'm thinking, how do they do it? Tell you one further, if you have children, okay, and you manage to get your children through high school and the graduate, let's say you don't have the money for college, and your kid doesn't want student loans, or they didn't, whatever. Okay, you've got an 18-year-old, 19-year-old that now has to go out to work, going to earn $8.25, $8.50 an hour. Where's he going to live? Going to stay smack at home with mom. He's going to stay tonight at home. There's nothing else there that he can. This 12. So $12 an hour gives them what? 8 times 4, $32 more a day.
Right.
It's impossible. I mean, at $15 an hour with 2 people working, maybe mom can work part time. But at $15 an hour, people may have a shot. At $8 an hour, $10 an hour, $12 an hour, you cannot. It's subsistence. I mean, how is a family supposed to afford insurance? Maybe have a car. Maybe lucky enough to own a car, but car insurance. All of these things that it costs to live. Go get driver's license. It costs you $50.
Right. And Nick, in our state, they've upped that price.
Right. Okay. And now you need insurance to drive. Okay. So I mean, how are people supposed to live on this $10, $12 an hour?
So to me now, and I think wild a little. So let me give you guys the opportunity to respond. It appears to me that this thing that has been called the American dream has been somewhat of a fad. However, it appears that Bern is trying to allow everybody to have at least somewhat of a better equal access to this thing of American dream, because when you look at it, and Deb posted out there on the live link that maybe if you are single and live in a trailer, and not that a trailer house is bad, so let's make sure that everybody don't understand. I mean that they understand that we're not talking about that. What we're saying is that if you are confined to stand in a trailer because you can't make enough money to go out and purchase your home, which I think everybody should at least have the opportunity to purchase them what they call their own home. Okay, their own solid foundation, because a home is not a home if it doesn't have a foundation. So when we look at Bern, it appears that to me, because people are going against him, because he's trying to allow this thing that some of us have been preaching about, equal access for everybody. Talk to me about that, Dave Lamont, this equal access that Bern is looking at when it comes to economic equality, bringing down the big Wall Street bankers and all those other people.
Well, he's basically looking at the idea that started the whole antitrust busting movement in what was known as the Progressive era. Teddy Roosevelt was a rather famous trust buster. And it basically follows the premise that the larger these banking organizations or any kind of company in any kind of industry get, they start gobbling up their smaller competitors, and then they no longer have to compete, particularly if they collude with the few remaining competitors that they may have. We can see an example of this, and I'll mention that. It's the cable and ISP company. Right now, there's about 4 or 5 really big companies, and most of the others are fairly small. And while it hasn't been proven, it's rather obvious they tend to collude on prices because we don't see a huge competition between them. Mm-hmm. We also see that they negotiate with cities to run systems rather than negotiate with customers. So that also stifles the entire process of competition.
Did we lose you, Dave? Well, Nikki, you or Deb want to pick up where Dave left off, because I think we lost him. He'll probably more than likely call back in. You want to pick up on that, Nikki? Nikki, Dave Lamont. How about Deb? You out there? I am not real sure what has happened. Let me just kind of see what's going on here. Right now, we've lost some type of connection, some way, somehow. Dave Lamont, are you out there? Dave, are you out there? How about Nikki? Are you out there? How about Deb? Are you out there? Well, what I'm going to do is see basically what's going on, and we're going to pause briefly if we can. I'm going to see if the engineer can get us a song to play right quick until we can come back on live. Can we get a song played? Any song that's out there just momentarily. You're listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Bern Glass on WMAD 24-hour global radio. We're going to try to see what's going on with this technical glitch that's out there right now. So we're going to play a song if we can. We're going to pause briefly and see if we can get well, I see now that we're having some difficulties with regards to the broadcast itself. Is not particularly on our side. It is on the Blog Talk side. So if you're out there listening, just kind of pause briefly, and we're going to see if we can get this thing fixed and worked out. Otherwise, we're going to continue to go on with the broadcast. Hopefully, our guests can return. And when they return, we're going to continue to talk about United States Senator Bernie Sanders. Are you feeling the burn yet? Why or why not? You're listening to, once again, the Smoking Glass Hour with Bern Glass on WMAD 24-hour global radio, Thursday night edition at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. So once again, we're having a little technical difficulties, and we're trying to see exactly what's going on with the broadcast. So I'm going to pause briefly. There may be a little pausing, a little silence, but we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Okay, we're still trying to figure out what is going on with the broadcast. So if you don't mind, don't blame it on our hearts. Blame it on technology. We know that sometimes technology can cause some difficulties. So we're going to ask that you please remain patient with us. And as you remain patient with us, we're going to try to come back live momentarily if we're able to, with regards to the technical difficulties. So we're trying to get back into the main studio through the call, but for some reason it is actually delaying what's going on. So we want to make sure, yes, Deb, we're coming through Spreaker, but I believe Blog Talk, the other station that we're broadcasting on, which is where the callers are calling in at, they are having those issues. So we're going to make sure that we can continue to do what we're doing, continue to bring you this broadcast, and make sure that everything can at least go as smooth as possible. Yes, Deb, we're going to make sure that we continue to broadcast on the Spreaker side, because we know that one side of the broadcast is working and the other side is not. We had the callers on the other side, which is where they are actually able to call in at, and we're still trying to work out those difficulties. We're not sure exactly what it is. I'm hoping that we don't have to end the broadcast, but we want to make sure that everything is going on. So we are trying our very best to bring you the most current events. We're trying to make sure that everything is going on the way it is planned. So once again, you're listening to. Okay, we're back in. Dave Lamont, are you out there? Nikki, are you out there? I'm not sure if we need to sign back in or whatever the case may be, because this is the first time that something like this has happened. So once again, we're going to ask that the individuals that's out there call back in. I'm going to try to send Dave Lamont a message and have him to call back in. So we want to make sure that we can get this thing going live. We're talking to Dave Lamont via social media. Hopefully he'll be able to call in. We'll make sure that, let me see if I can get in contact with my other co-host. Dave just dropped. Let me see if I can get back in. I don't know if Aaron Hopkins is out there. Yeah. Okay. We got a call out there? Yes. Hello, Dave. You out there?
Yep.
Yes, sir. Sorry, Dave. I'm not real sure exactly what happened or what took place. The engineer was having technical difficulties on their side, so we are back live. Dave Lamont, Screens from the Center. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, thank you. Well, going back to my original point on the, I want to mention a few of the other things that Senator Sanders holds true as part of his policy that are also held true by a majority of Americans. Senator Sanders wants to get rid of the Patriot Act. He wants the NSA to have to get a warrant for your information. I mean, these are things that sound really simple. He wants to spend money on infrastructure to create jobs. He wants to expand Social Security. He wants to close offshore tax loopholes. And these are all things that tend to poll 70% or higher. So you can't say that he is not someone who has policies that the people embrace. It's very obvious that they do. We also see that, he makes the argument in taxation. There was a time that corporations paid 33% of all federal taxes. Today they pay about 11%. And conservatives will tell you that lower taxes mean more investment. There's nothing in history that shows that. Mm-hmm. So Bernie Sanders has the backing of well over 100 top economists, including former Labor Secretary Robert Reich, who frequently goes live on Facebook to talk about tax policy, economic situation. He's a strong proponent for Bernie Sanders, and he's a fellow that I respect greatly. Mm-hmm. So if he is in favor of the Sanders policy,
right,
anybody else should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Dave,
one other.
Go ahead. Finish it up. Go ahead.
There's one other person who, well, I'll let you go ahead. I got to look up his name again.
Okay.
Go ahead with another.
Yeah, that's fine. Dave, we're joined now by Mr. Aaron Hopkins from Dallas, Texas. Aaron, tonight we're talking about, Bernie Sanders. Are you feeling the burn? Why not? We've put out a lot of information out there tonight. Tell us, Dave, Aaron, we've been having some feedback from the live debate that's going on now between Sanders and Secretary of State Clinton. Aaron, what is it about Senator Sanders that has appealed to you as to why you have a little favoritism toward him versus former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton?
First of all, good evening, Bern. Good evening, everybody. I've known Senator Sanders for quite some time, and his track record in terms of what he stands for, both in the civil rights arena and as well as in his senator seat and what various issues that he has personally stood up for over the years. Mm-hmm. The difference that I see mainly between Senator Sanders and former Secretary of State Clinton is that there is what I would say a straight line from what he says he believes in and what he actually is found fighting for, as opposed to a reaction to something that somebody brings to your attention that you may not feel one way about it when it's first brought to your attention until you realize that in order for you to get votes in your favor or gain some access somewhere where you will need back now that same topic all of a sudden becomes more valuable to you. So, in a nutshell, the honesty, the genuine fighting for rights of equality is, I think, what to me is what separates the two. I don't believe, and I'm definitely an advocate, and I think you are as well, Barry. From where I'm standing, it has absolutely nothing to do with gender, because I am all in favor for female leadership. Always have been, always will be.
Right.
So I don't want people to get that mixed up with why she's not a personal favorite of mine. But just looking at the record, me say strongly and loudly what needs to be said.
Well, Aaron, I think we can take it a step further. You know, black people that I know have never just wanted any black to be in the Oval Office. We always wanted somebody that was qualified to be there, which it happened to be Barack. My position is that I would love for a female to be in a leadership role. I just think that Hillary Clinton is not that female to be there. Now, somebody else can think, you know, whatever it is that they want, and that's fine. It's respected and accepted. However, she is not the person that I would be looking for. Deb, I want you to come in and tell us basically what you're able to see with the live broadcast and kind of give us an update if you don't mind.
I was trying to get back to my mute button.
Okay, go ahead. That's okay.
Okay, what I'm seeing with the live broadcast?
Yeah, I think you said something about she being Senator Clinton is saying that Bernie lies about her record and things like that. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Oh yeah, she was and I'm just kind of reading some captions here, catching some captions, but she's been saying this all along. That he's lying on her. And I don't see it at all. When he's throwing out those facts, she voted for the Iraq War. She's taken money from Wall Street for these speeches. She's taken it for her campaign. He's pointing out facts, and she can't deny that. Maybe, I don't know. It's a campaign. She's trying to pit people against each other on this. Mm-hmm. And it's a shame. It's a shame because Bernie hasn't been negative. I mean, the only time that he's even gotten remotely negative is when she has attacked him. And I can't say, and I can't even call that negative. I think he was kind of a little tongue-in-cheek with it, which people may have taken negatively. But I just don't see that he's attacking anywhere that. I don't even see it as an attack. I see him as laying out the facts here.
Right, and I think what has happened, Deb, is that because Bernie has caused so much pain and misery because they thought they were just going to be able, like they did in 2007, 2008. She felt she was entitled, and everybody was just going to be for her because of her notoriety and things like that. Now, because Bernie is making her earn whatever it is that she's having right now, she's having fits or going into fits. Nikki, are you back out there yet?
Yes, I'm here, Baron.
Okay. We had a technical, difficult situation that went on earlier. We're not real sure why, but we know that the transition on the other side is now fixed, and hopefully it'll remain. We'll see if we can work it out. But have you been able to tune in? I don't know when you came back in, but have you been able to tune in with some of the things that
I got back pretty rapidly.
Okay. Go ahead.
I've been in for a while since Dave spoke, and Aaron. Hi, Aaron. And Deb. I've been listening for a while.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what is it that you feel coming from other areas, having a good, genuine, honest perspective? What is it? Well, let me switch gears. Let me ask you this question. Some people are saying that if Bernie does not win, that his supporters should automatically go to former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I disagree. I don't think they should. I think when you're voting something because it's the lesser evil, I think you just get maybe a better evil, you know?
Mm-hmm.
No, I think there's a momentum. I think Bernie has energized youth. I think he's energized, I think Bernie's tapped into really what is wrong, what is, grossly, morally, economically, integrally wrong with the country. I think, this idea of free education, it's last week's show was about poverty and education and how one of the facts is that when a child from inner city, a black child, goes into school, primary education, he's already a year behind.
Mm-hmm.
So this idea, and if he gets through school, he lags behind every year, every year thereafter. So the idea of college or working isn't even there. He doesn't have a shot. So I think things like attacking infrastructure, where the infrastructure of our cities is crumbling, where people cannot live humane, decent lives. These are some of the things that I really believe Bernie will address. I think the nation is ready for it. I think we're sick and tired of being sick and tired of big government being bought, companies doing what Deb's company's doing in Missouri. We all know it's happening. And I think Bernie's looking to equalize the playing field, because all most people want is a shot. This idea of the American dream, maybe that happened in the 50s. I didn't grow up here, so that Leave It to Beaver thing is as alien to me as maybe it's to you, Baron.
Uh-huh.
It's just like alien to me. But, then you had the 60s, you had civil rights, you had the war movement. I don't know what really is the American dream, but it certainly has not been available to everybody. And I think with Bernie in office and that change of direction, I don't know what he'll be able to get done, what he won't. I think the man will die trying, and we need that change of direction at the top. With that change of direction at the top, what's happening at the bottom and these energized young folks and people going out and getting politically active, that's what Bernie has started.
Mm-hmm.
And so for his supporters, if he doesn't get the nomination, to move over to Hillary, who's just going to give us, I think, just more of the same. I think worse of the same.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this, Deb, and I'm going to bring you in. I'm going to bring Dave in and Aaron. The comment out there now is that Robert Wright was answering a question about a third party today. Deb says she thinks we are in the perfect position for a third party right now. Aaron, do you feel that would be a negative thing or a positive thing?
I think it would be absolutely positive. That is one of the things that came up, Baron, I can't remember if you and I discussed it. I know that Corey and myself discussed it, that a party along the lines of justice for all citizens of America, which I think Bernie is actually entered into that vein. I don't see it as being negative at all. I think too often that we think that these parties are going to realign themselves and do different than what they have done historically, when in fact they're proving to us that whenever the spotlight is off, they're going to do business as usual.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to us to keep the pressure on them, whether it's Democratic or Republican. In my eyes, right is right and wrong is wrong. So, and I wanted to bring up something. Hopefully, I apologize if it was already mentioned, but the Verizon strike, where the CEO of Verizon has basically come out now and said that Bernie is pouring fuel on a fire that he wishes he would not have engaged in.
Uh-huh.
And in my mind, that's exactly where he should be engaging. And I asked the question: would former Secretary of State Clinton be one of the people to come and try to diffuse the situation, which is along the same lines of an economic issue based on pay.
Mm-hmm.
If she is if she's advocating $12 in terms of changing the minimum wage to go up to 15, I asked the same question you asked earlier, Barrett. Why 15 to me is a starting point, but still below where it actually needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
But why pull back to 12 as opposed to 15? We already know $15 an hour would still leave a large gap between the poverty line, the middle class, and the rich. So we just have to, in my mind, Senator Clinton has got a lot of cleanup work to do, and I don't think she has enough time in terms of the election to do that, based on where Bernie Sanders has already stood and has consistently stood throughout his tenure as senator.
Right. Let me ask Dave Lamont, because I don't know if Dave is going to share the same or not. Dave, third party run. You think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I have to disagree with that. I think no third party candidacy has ever won the president. The most impactful one we've had was Ross Perot, who got somewhere around between 12 and 20% of the vote. That was enough to help Clinton get into his first term in the White House, at least most experts think. So I think someone like Sanders, for instance, running a third-party candidacy would split the Democratic vote. There's a myth that goes on in politics that you have to play to the center, that you have to, attract these centrist voters, these swing votes. Well, I don't believe that's actually a true thing. I believe that most people who are unaffiliated with a party do have a preference for a party, but they don't identify as Democrat or Republican. So you need someone who can stir up the base and inspire those people who already lean to your side to get out there and vote. It's a strategy that not too many people subscribe to today. And I really think that a third-party candidacy derails that kind of concept. And I know that most of I'm in the minority here when it comes to Clinton, but I mentioned it in the chat. Hillary Clinton was for $10.10 an hour. Now she's talking about $12. That's Bernie's effect. I think that that's a good thing. I think that if Hillary Clinton ends up being the nominee, if we continue to push her, if the movement continues to go on, that she will change her policy. And let's all keep in mind, Hillary Clinton, I'm going to play devil's advocate here because you know I do try to do that. Hillary Clinton had the 8th most progressive voting record in the U.S. Senate. So I just want to emphasize that sort of thing. Now, I do believe that Bernie Sanders is the absolute best candidate for the time that we are in right now. And he has got my vote and support 100%. But I just want to get out and clarify.
Yeah, let me ask this. Excellent point. As always, you always do a good job. But let me ask you this. If you try to send a message, do you send a message by being passive, or do you send that message by being aggressive? Me personally, I'm willing to accept whatever happens if a third-party candidate win. If that's Trump going in, I got to deal with that for 4 years. If that's Cruz going in for 4 years, I have to deal with that. But I think it's now time. For these people that are a part of the establishment to understand that what we mean, what we say we mean, and what we mean, we say it's time out for being taken for granted. I'm one of those guys, once you push me in a corner, I'm coming out. And as a Democrat, myself personally, I'm speaking solely for me, not at you, Dave, just in general. And anybody can come in and comment on it. I'm speaking for me. I'm tired of it. I've had enough. As a matter of fact, like I said, I have thought and still thinking about relinquishing myself from the party and becoming an independent, because one lie and the other hate, or the other hate and the other. I mean, it's just a whole lot of hoodwinking and bamboozling. Let me get a caller to come in. Let me open up the line. Is there any caller out there now who would like to engage in the conversation? If you do, you may come in at this point. Any caller? Okay, Dave Lamont, I'm going to let you respond.
All right, so, and I've mentioned this before early on in our conversations on air, that Hillary Clinton represents the party of incremental change, whereas Sanders represents the party of great change. And, of course, I am a huge advocate for the latter than the sooner. So, yes, I do believe that an aggressive stance is the best policy. And that's why I think Bernie Sanders' campaign has been so impactful. Because when we started in this, back in February before Iowa, Hillary Clinton was a shoo-in. She had the crown. They were lowering it onto her head. But then this upstart came out of nowhere, a political unknown to many people in the United States. And now he's won 7 of the last 8 contests. He has pushed Hillary Clinton to the left in her rhetoric, at least. Whether or not she's honest about that, I can't say. I can't see into her mind and her soul, so I can't answer that specifically. But he has pushed her rhetoric to the extreme, to the left. So to say that, whether or not he gets the nomination or not, Sanders is a force within the Democrat Party. Because, and here's something that I'm going to tell you about. I read an article recently that shows that the crowning of Hillary Clinton is not a guarantee. Now, I don't think that it's mathematically probable for Senator Sanders to win the nomination at this point. He needs 66% of the delegates, and that's a hard hill to climb. But Hillary Clinton needs 57% of the delegates. And right now, in most of the contests in the later side of the primaries, she only gets, when she wins, around 50%, 54%. If Senator Sanders can keep her into that 50, 54% range, or win doing, 55, 56 to 60 points, we're going to see a contested convention within the Democrat Party itself. Going into that is going to put Senator Sanders at a strong advantage, particularly if he wins more and more states towards the end here and closes that gap in the number of states won. So even if he loses the nomination outright, I think he's still got a strong chance, and within the Democrat Party, he is going to be a force to be reckoned with. That's why Senator Sanders should not run a third-party candidacy.
Okay, Aaron Hopkins.
Yeah, I think I hear Dave's point, and I understand exactly what he means in terms of the third party and it possibly derailing some of the momentum. But here's another thing that we also have to look at. The dissatisfaction that exists in America, nationwide, with various people who, one of the things we should very well keep in mind is that the younger people who are just now getting themselves involved in politics, they're not as loyal to one party or another as some of us who are older, who are, and especially in the black community, we are pretty much generationally
right.
This youth movement that we need to take a very close look at. They're not going to allow this dissatisfaction to continuously be swept under the rug and or just spoken to and not addressed by actual change in policy. So I think that it's also dangerous on the part of Senator or former Secretary Clinton to change her policy based on a reaction. I think she has to be more aggressive in terms of preventing or showing that some of the things that, because these are not things that she doesn't hear coming from people in the communities. So as opposed to waiting until it comes across or meets her desk, I think she should show a little more initiative in changing some policies now, or changing her stance on some policies, so that it doesn't appear that she's only reacting when somebody shows their dissatisfaction with something that she has possibly stood for in the past. I think that's a dangerous thing to play with.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm reading something talking about Hillary Clinton's financial donations from pro-fracking groups is making voters very doubtful of her. Nikki, we got about 15 minutes left. I want to bring you and Deb back in and kind of summarize what we've been talking about here tonight. Are you feeling the burn? Why not? And what is it that you'd like to say as we attempt to close the broadcast for tonight? Nikki.
I love the point Aaron just made. That if I have a kind of rebuttal on it, I think Aaron is more hopeful than I am, or maybe more text. But this idea about Hillary being proactive in her statements. I mean, she's just been reactive to Bernie Sanders the whole way through. I don't believe that she's ever thought of any of the things like the raise in the minimum wage or anything until it was mentioned by Bernie. I mean, she's almost picked up verbatim, some of his policies, which tells me, and I have no trust of the woman anyway, which tells me that they aren't issues that are dear to her heart. I think they're unimportant to her. I think if Hillary gets in, you're going to find the prison industrial complex is going to grow. I think you're going to find that fracking is going to grow. Hillary owes a lot of debt.
Amen.
Okay? There's a lot of calls on Hillary out there. Taking a lot of money for a long time. And I think this goes along with why I truly believe in just watching her. She will say what's expedient. She wants to be elected. And then any type of promise that was made is just going to go by the wayside. I like third party. I think sometimes things got to break apart. They got to break apart to be put together properly. And if that be so, but I think this revolution and this idea, people are energized. I'd rather have Bernie with his beautiful ideas and the people energized, and this idea of a society, a democratic society, where the playing field is leveled racially, economically, in all kinds of ways. I'd rather go with that. And if it means a break in the party, I'm with that too.
Nikki, I think you summarized exactly what I was saying, and you've done it a whole lot better. Deb, are you still out there? Give me your summary of what you think we have discussed here tonight. I know we're out there on the live chat line, so come on in and talk to us.
I'm still here, and I'll tell you what, it's like, I think everything that's happened, I think it's just set in stone. But I'm kind of I'm pretty much a Bernie or bust person. I am. And every time I hear something, these attacks that come out, and it just kind of sets me there even more. We have too much going on we have too much at stake right now. Not just going on. We have too much at stake right now. This Iraqi war, it could have paid for so many things. It could have put people through college. It could have provided housing for our veterans. I mean, there's so much that it could have been done. And now she's on TPP, and she won't give up on that. There's just too much at stake. And I want to see a woman. I'm a feminist. I am. I want to see a woman in office, just not this one. You bring me Elizabeth Warren, and I am on board. Mm-hmm. But we just have too much at stake right now. We cannot go on with status quo, and people know that. And the independent party, and we were talking about parties earlier. The independent party is 47% of the voting party. That is a party of its own.
Right.
And they do have the power to make a change.
Right.
Don't know it yet.
Getting another comment out there. 21 other countries in NATO, and America does put in more money into NATO. And yes, the other countries should step up and put more money in NATO. But NATO is still vital, and we should remain in NATO. I'm not real sure. I know Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, Hillary Kissinger. We know that Dick Cheney is somewhat in his own silent way hoping that Hillary gets in. I'm kind of like Nikki said. She's got too many deaths owed out there. I think this is destined for her to happen. So all of those favors, because once you give the person the power, it's almost impossible to pull that power back. Aaron Hopkins, let me bring you in because we got about 5 or 6 minutes left.
Yeah, I think I agree, and I'm glad Nikki put her comment in the text that she put it. Basically, we have a choice to either put a Band-Aid over the issues again, because in my judgment, that's all that's been going on for quite some time now. It's like a choice to pick out the most pertinent issue at the time, and unfortunately, of course, we all remember when President Obama came on the scene, it was about bailing out the banking industry. That was made to be the most pertinent issue at the time, and it was addressed in that fashion. So, and I'm saying that to say, again, some of these issues, Deb just mentioned a couple of issues that, people are not going to allow somebody else to determine the time or time limit on when their issues are going to be addressed. It's like the priorities have always been out of sync, and we almost have to sit back and wait until the things that affect our communities the most come up on the list. And I don't think that's going to be tolerated this time around. And Senator Sanders is almost, again, he's almost in step with people who are dissatisfied, and I don't think he's not window dressing, and he's not speaking just to be heard as being in favor of those things. I think a lot of this stuff he actually lives it himself, and which makes him, to me, much more qualified again than former Secretary of State Clinton.
Hey, Dave Lamont, we got about 3 minutes left. I want us to try one night to join Dave Lamont with his live broadcast, Screens from the Center. Dave, give us information on your broadcast and tell us where we can check you out, add you on Facebook, Twitter, or whatever the case may be, because you've been supporting us, and we're going to make sure that we support you.
Yeah, I do a live show on Blab every week on Wednesday. I do the broadcast either at 8:30, or 9 o'clock. All you have to do is look me up on Blab, which you can access through the web or through the phone app, and look for the handle at DM Lamont. I'm also on Twitter under that same handle. I occasionally do Periscopes under the same handle as well. I'm on Facebook at Screams from the Center, and I have a YouTube channel which I upload videos to, also called Screams from the Center.
Right. I know, Deb, you are out there. If you want to put out any information that you have, you can. Then, Nick, I'll bring you in, and I'll bring Aaron in, and we'll end the broadcast. Go ahead on, Deb. You got any information that you'd like to share with regards to your social media handles or whatever the case may be?
I do. Actually, I have 2 different pages. I have Missourian for Bernie Sanders. There's a Facebook page, and you can follow that. I also have, and I don't know if anybody would be hip on this, but it's Boonville, Cooper County for Bernie. And then, of course, you can always find me on Twitter, because I'm on there all the time. But Missourians for Bernie Sanders, that's my main page that I'm running, and wish me luck at the Democratic Convention, State Democratic Convention.
Nikki Bedrick, I'm not sure if you want to give out any information, but if you have a Facebook page or whatever the case may be, if you want to make connection with other people, not only do we want to talk on this broadcast, we want to continue to talk logically and professionally on social media as well. Nikki.
Oh, you can find me on Facebook, Nikki Bedrick. I haven't done a page yet, threatening. And it's simply because I'm not tech savvy. So I gotta confess my ignorance though. But no, I just find me at Nikki Bedrick.
Okay, Aaron Hopkins.
Yes, sir. My personal page, of course, is Aaron Hopkins on Facebook. That is the only page I'm using right now. I've had several in the past, but that's the best one to find out whatever it is I'm involved in.
I think you're on Twitter too, right, Aaron?
Yes, sir. I'm on Twitter. Same thing, Aaron Hopkins, or Aaron Hopkins 2, via Twitter. And I am starting to, I think you saw, Barry, I'm starting to put some of the older articles that I used to have published in a local publication here, and I am getting ready to get back into that cycle of writing. So hopefully I'm able to put out a little more of the writing that I'm getting back involved in.
Okay.
Aaron, keep me posted on. I'd love to see it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. Once again, tonight's topic is: are you feeling the burn yet? Why or why not? We've been talking with Mr. Aaron Hopkins from Dallas, Texas. We've been talking to Mr. Dave Lamont from Aurora, Colorado. We've been talking to Miss Nikki Bedrick from Las Vegas, Nevada, and Deb, which is from Missouri. I always get the town in Missouri wrong, but I know we're from the state of Missouri. And Deb, if you're out there listening, I know you are. Let me know the city that you're from so I can make sure. Okay, Boonville, Missouri. There we go. Boonville, Missouri. So we want to make sure that everybody that's out there listening continue to listen to the broadcast. We hope that Bern and Senator Clinton did a better job tonight than what the Republicans have been doing. At some point in time, you have to draw a line in the sand. As for me, the line is already drawn in the sand. I am not tolerating any more of the lies and the deceit from these particular parties. If there's somebody out there who has enough courage to put themselves forward and run on a platform that's closer to what my philosophy is, then I'm willing to stick my neck out and support that person and suffer the consequences, because we as a people, we have endured a whole lot over the last 200, 300, and 400 years, and 4 years is not going to be that long compared to what we've already dealt with. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at about 9:29 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're going to get out of here early. Dave, thanks again. Nikki, thanks. Deb, thanks. Aaron Hopkins, thanks. And thanks for stay tuning with us during the technical glitch. Aaron, you're familiar with it with Blog Talk Radio. Aaron, I really wish you and Corey would get a little bit more active as you guys can, because we are making a mark. And when I say a mark, we have people that are actually listening, that are being engaged, that are feeling a part of a process. Thank you for listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Bern Glass on WMAD 24-hour Global Radio. Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Good night, Bern. Good night.